going to draft the upper bodies of an off-shoulder cape dress for a 7-year-old girl. Okay, so we are literally making a dress for a 7-year-old girl. That's dress you just viewed now. So the measurements that we are working with is we have the bust circumference, which is 24. We have the waist circumference, which is 22. We have the shoulder, which is 11. We have the round shoulder, which is 30. Okay, you can also measure the arm. Then you can also measure the across back and across chest. So I have 10 for it. Yeah, so this is basically the measurements I need. Then for the down part of the dress, you also need the waist to knee length, which is 21. So I'm going to put down the measurement I have on the screen right away. Okay, so let's proceed to the drafting. The first thing I want to do is I'm just going to mark 1/2 inch downward. So this 1/2 inch will serve as the starting point of my drafting. So you mark 1/2 inch downward and you so having done that, I'm going to mark the half length. Okay, so the half length I'm working with is 10 inches. So the half length of a 7-year-old girl is 10 inches, but you can also use 11 inches. I see some standard measurement which has 11 inches as the upper bodies. Is still okay, but I measured 10 inches. Okay, so having done that, I'm going to input the shoulder measurement. Okay, so we have 11 inches divided by 2. We have 5.5. You mark 5.5. okay, then for the neck width, I'm going to use 2 inches or even 2.5. I think 2.5 should be okay. So I'm going to use, you can use 2 inches or 2.5 for a 7-year-old. Okay, then I'm going to mark the shoulder slants. Going to mark 1/2 inch, then I'll connect. So from the neck point, you connect the shoulder slants. So we are basically drafting the upper bodies of a 7-year-old girl. Then after that, we are going to map out our style line for the off shoulder. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to mark down the chest line. To get the chest line is very easy. You can divide the bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5. You will still arrive at 5.5. okay, or you can also mark what you have on your shoulder line. You can also mark it downward. Either ways. So I have 5.5. I'm going to mark so you rule your horizontal line. So having done that, the next thing you want to do is to bring down whatever you have at your shoulder line. You bring it down to your chest line. 5.5. Then we are going to connect. So having done that, the next thing you want to do is to mark your bust circumference divided by 4. So I have 24 divided by 4, I have 6 inches. I'm going to mark 6 inches. Okay, then I'll add extra 1 inch seam allowance. Then at the waistline, you mark the waistline divided by 4. So 22 divided by 4, I have 5.5. I'll mark 5.5. And I'll mark extra 1 inch seam allowance. So having done that, I'm going to connect it. So this is the bodice. There is no point connecting the neckline since we are working with an off shoulder. So we are going to determine how off we want the off shoulder to be. I'm going to mark 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches downward. So from the neckline, just mark 3 inches. So this is how off I want this to be. So can you see that? So after that, I'm going to connect my armhole. Simply get the midpoint of this 5.5. Hold your tape. Okay, so from this point you can come in by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm also going to mark a diagonal line here. So you can also mark 1/2 inch outward, then you can connect it. So on the across chest we have 10 inches. So I measured 10 inches, and you can see that from the center front to this armhole line, I equally have that 10 inches. If you want to know the across chest, you can just come up by 1.5 inches. Okay, so I equally have the 10 inches. So the next thing I want to do is to map out where the strap is going to be. So the neckline, the neck width will be the basis, the guide for where the strap is going to fall. So I'm using 2.5 as the neckline. I'm going to mark 2.5 here. So I'm going to connect it. So the width of the strap, I'm going to make it 1 inch. So it's going to be 1 inch after folding it neatly. Okay, so this is how it's going to be. But I think 0.75 will be okay. So the width, I want to make the width 0.75. So I want it to be tiny as possible. So the width of this strap should be 0.75 inches. So when cutting, make sure you add the folding allowance. Okay, so by the time you fold it neatly, it should be 0.75. okay, so the next thing I want to do is to add the sewing allowance. Okay, so here I'm going to add 1/2 inch joining allowance. I've already added 1 inch at the side. So at this part I'm also going to add 1/2 inch because we are going to turn that part neatly. So I'm going to add 0.375 because we are going to turn the armhole. And also at the upper part I'm going to add 0.375 because we are going to be joining the cape there. So I'm adding 0.375 joining allowance at the upper part. So having done that, it's time to cut out. So the next thing I want to determine is the cape, okay? So if you are cutting out the cape, it should be the round shoulder. So I have the round shoulder as 30 inches. So the width is going to be 30 inches plus 1 inch, okay? It should be 30 inches plus 1 inch. I'm going to add 1 inch is allowance, okay? So it's because when I measured it, it was quite tight. So 30 plus 1 inch is allowance, it will be 31 plus extra 1 inch sewing allowance by the time I turn both sides with 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut out 32 inches for the width of the cape, then 32 inches for the length, then for the width is going to be 3.5, okay? So the 1/2 inch will be for joining at this upper part. So the exact width I want is 3 inches, okay? So I will go ahead and cut out this, okay? So and also for the strap length I have here is 3 inches. So when I double it for both the front and back, I will have 6 inches. So the strap length I'm cutting is 6 inches by 0.75. So this will be for our strap, okay? So I've cut this out. This is the front bodice. So in order to determine the strap that will go across the arm, all you have to do is to measure what you have here. Since my the round shoulder I'm working with is 30 inches, right? So I'll measure what I have here. I already have 5 inches, okay? So 5 inches by 4, we have 20 inches. You understand what I mean by 5 inches by 4? This is just half of half. This is quarter. When you open this up, you have 10 inches for the front and 10 inches for the back. So we already have 20 inches. We are left with 10 inches. So 10 inches divided by 2, we have what? 5 inches. So we are going to have 5 inches for one side and 5 inches for the other side. That will correspond with 30 inches. But since I added extra 1 inch is allowance, we are going to cut it 5.5 here and 5.5 here. Then the joining allowance, we also add extra 1/2 inch to it. So the total of what I'm cutting for the strap that will be here will be 6 inches on one side and 6 inches on the other side. So the length of the strap is going to be 6 inches and the width will be 1.5. I think 1.5 should be okay. Yeah, so the width will be 1.5. So for the cape, the length is 32 by 3.5. Then the strap that will go to the shoulder, the length is what? 6 inches, while the width is what? 0.75. I'm not going to add joining allowance so that it can be able to hold the dress up, okay? Yeah, so that is it. That is it. And the off shoulder strap that will go across the arm is going to be 6 inches length and 1.5 inches width. So I'm going to use the front to cut out the back. So I'm simply just going to place it like so. So this is the 1 inch zipper allowance that I mapped out. So you place it after this, then you cut out. So we are done cutting out the back using the front. So I'm just going to make a little amendment at the back. I'm going to come up by 1/2 inch from the center back. The essence is just to eliminate any form of bulge that will occur. So come up by 1/2 inch from the center back and connect it back to the side parts. Okay, the essence is just to eliminate any form of bulge that may occur. So just trim it off. So after that, we have our front and back bodies, off shoulder bodies. So I'll go ahead and use this to cut out the material and also the lining. So this is the front and back bodies with the lining. So I'm going to remove the pattern. This is the front bodies and we are going to join it side by side. So you pin, you join by 1 inch at the side. You do the same thing for the lining. You also pin and join by 1 inch by the side. I'll go ahead and do this. So before I join this side, though I've already joined it, you have to input your belt. Okay, so these belts I cut it 33 inches each of them. So what I did was simply multiply the waist, which is 22 by 3. I have 66 divided by 2. I have 33. So I cut 33 inches length, and the width I have here after folding in 1/2 inch is 2 inches. Okay, so you are just going to cut 33 inches by 2.5. So when you are done folding, you have 2 inches, or as you desire. So I'm going to open this up. So you are going to fix it like this, right side facing each other. So the belt should be facing the front. The belt should be facing the front bodies. Okay, so just fix it like this, and you also fix this other one like this. So you go ahead and top stitch. So I've also stitched the lining side by side. So while fixing your belt, make sure that you map out 1/2 inch upward. Okay, so where you are going to join the lower bodies. So after joining the belt, make sure you have 1/2 inch where you are going to join the lower bodies. Okay, make sure there is 1/2 inch here before you join your belt. So the next thing I want to add now is the strap. Okay, so I have 6.5 inches length. Sorry, I have 6.5 inches length, and the width is 2 inches. So what determines this 6.5 is my round shoulder minus what I already have here. Okay, if I'm to measure what I already have here I have 11 inches, right? So when I take away half inch here, I will be left with 10, right? So here I have what, 6.5. When I take away 1.5, which is half inch here, and 1 inch here zipper allowance, I will have 5 inches. So the total of what I have here is 20 inches. So the round shoulder I'm working with is 30 inches minus the 20 inches I already have here. I will be left with what? 10 inches. Okay, so when I divide this 10 inches into 2, I will have 5 inches here and 5 inches here, but I cut out 6.5. so by the time I take half inch on both sides, I will be left with what? 5.5. so that half inch extra was for ease allowance. Okay, I hope you understand how we got this now. So I'm going to fix this. So mark down, we are going to leave 0.375 from the upward before you pin it down. So you are leaving it because you are still going to use your lining to turn the upper part. So you are going to pin it down, right side facing each other. Then you are also going to pin this like this. Okay, pin it right side facing each other. So I'll pin the other side, then I'll go and sew it. So after joining the strap, this is how it looks. So if you want to confirm if it's up to your round shoulder measurements, can you see I have 16 inches here by 2 is already what? 32. Okay, so that extra 2 inches, I think it will be for his allowance. Is still okay, because when I measured the round shoulder, it was kind of tight. So the next thing I want to do now is to turn it with the lining. Okay, so get the lining. We are going to place it right side facing each other. Okay, so you are going to pin the seam line to seam line. Okay, so you are going to get this strap out of the way, and we are going to pin seam line to seam line. So open up the seam line, open it up, and you pin. Can you see how I'm doing it? You pin it like I've gone ahead to pin this. Pinning this is quite technical since you've already joined your strap, but make sure that you open up the seam line at the side. You pin it seam line to seam line. We are going to sew the armhole, the upper parts. So I'll go ahead and sew it. So this is it. After sewing it, you run a stitch at the upper part, armhole. So while running a stitch at the armhole, make sure that you didn't sew the strap. Okay, at the upper part, can you see how we run our stitch, armhole? Then having done that, you are going to turn everything. So you turn everything and you give it a good press, especially the armhole part. You can also notch the armhole part so that it can relax. So I'll go ahead and give it a good press. So this is what we have after ironing it. So when I open we have neat finishing at this part. So that's the essence of the sewing technique we just applied now. So the next thing I want to do now is to join the strap and also the cape. Okay, so make sure that the cape you have is equivalent to your round shoulder measurement. Okay, yeah, so the cape I have here is equivalent to my round shoulder measurement, the round shoulder measurement I'm working with rather. So I have 31 inches. It was 30, but I added 1 inch is allowance. Okay, the width of this cape is 3 inches. Okay, so you are cutting out 3.5 inches width, so that by the time you fold in half inch, you will be left with what, 3 inches. Okay, that's the width of the cape. Then we also have the strap. You remember when we were drafting the pattern, we measured the strap as 3 inches. So for both the front and back, it will be 6 inches. I didn't add joining allowance because I wanted to draw up the off shoulder very well. So I have 6 inches by 0.75, just like I've explained before. So in order to join the strap, I'm going to mark the midpoint of this. So we have 5 inches as the midpoint. Then I'm going to mark 2.5 inches on both sides of the midpoint. Remember that we used 2.5 inches as the neck width while drafting, and we agreed that we are going to fix this shoulder strap after 2.5 inches. Okay, so I'll also mark the 2.5 inches at the back. I'm simply going to measure what I have from here to here, 2.5. I will input it here, 2.5. so this is where the shoulder strap is going to fall. I also mark 2.5 inches here, so this is where the shoulder strap is going to fall. So can you see we have 3.5 at the center back, including the zipper allowance, so everything is okay. So this is how I'm going to fix the strap, like this. I will pin it down. So this is it. So going to pin it. So do you see how I'm taking it? You also pin it down. So after pinning it, you make sure that you pin it very well. Having done that, I will pin the other side, then I will go and stitch it. Okay, this is how it looks after joining it. So we are going to join the cape right now. I'm going to start by marking the midpoints of this cape. Then I'll also mark the midpoint of the bodice. So you are joining the cape from the back. So having done that, going to match the midpoint of the cape to the midpoint of the bodice. So we are going to pin this down. We are going to pin it down diligently. Can you see? We are also pinning it at the strap. Okay, the off shoulder strap, not the one going to the shoulder, the one going to the arm. Okay. So I will also pin this part. So after pinning it down, you will go and sew it down by just 0.25. So this is how it looks after joining it round. You are going to flip it over and give it a good press. Okay. So you flip it over, you give it a good press, and you can also tack it. So you can also tack it down so that the cape can stay in place. So I'll give it a good press and probably tack it down. So after joining the cape successfully, the next thing you want to do is to get your skirt length. Okay, we are joining it at the waist, right side facing each other. So you are joining only at the material. So we are also going to get the lining and also join. We're also going to get the skirt length of the lining and also join to the lining. So all you have to do is to mark the midpoint of your bodice and the midpoint of your skirt length. Then you are going to match both points together. Okay, so mash it up together. You pin it round. I see. Pin it and you go and sew it down. So I'm done joining the skirt part of the material to the material. Can you see that? So the next thing is also to join the lining to the lining part. So for the lining, all I did was to double whatever measurement I have here and I gathered it. Okay, I don't need to go through the stress of pleating all this, because this is just the lining and it will be covered inside. So that is it. So I'm just going to get the midpoint of this and the midpoint of the skirt part of the lining. Then I'm going to join it right side facing each other like this. Okay, so just pin the midpoint and you are good to go. So after joining the lining, this is how it looks. Can you see that? So the next thing you want to do now is to top stitch both the lining and the material together, weave it. You also do the same thing to the other side, weave it, and you add your zip. Or you can probably, if you want to do an inner zip finishing, you can add your zip at the material, then you are going to use the lining to turn it before stitching up. But I'm not going to be doing that, so that if there is any adjustment, it's going to be easier to lose. So we've come to the end of this tutorial. If you find this helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.